and welcome to another episode of Too Twisted for TV. And I think this episode is going to be very twisted because right now we've been discussing the topics about what we're going to go do. Should we talk about that or not? And everybody's telling me, no, Todd, but I'm going to go there. So this is going to be twisted. We have Arkansas Storm Team meteorologist and Fox 16 chief meteorologist Joel Young, Arkansas Storm Team meteorologist Jenna Warner. And I thought, well, what are we going to talk about first? And I got it.
It's fine.
No, go ahead.
I'm not going to say anything that gets me in trouble. I don't know about you.
Jenna, do you want to get in trouble?
Severe weather preparedness.
Yes.
That's a big no right there.
She's
like, I'm not going to talk about. No. All right, so I'll just start this off.
No, that's fine.
All right, so we are coming out of winter now. We're going into spring, and you're right, severe weather preparedness is an extremely important matter in Arkansas. But let's review the winter and the amount of disinformation that was put out over social media.
I like this route.
Yes.
We'll get there, I know.
But I want to talk about the disinformation that was pertaining to winter weather because you're going to see the same thing pertaining to severe weather.
Yeah.
This spring. And you've got to be careful about all this because there's going to be so much chatter on social media about up and coming severe weather episodes that are going to be very frightening to people.
Speaking of which, at the end of this last event, you had a lot of people on edge because they had been through this big winter storm and maybe they're so busy with the cleanup that they're not paying attention to what's on down the road. There have been some of our most common sources of misinformation out there sharing that this weekend there was going to be a big snowstorm.
It was supposed to snow on the 10th.
This upcoming weekend.
I think northern Arkansas.
Weekend?
Yeah.
I think also on the 10th, there was posts about some 30-inch snow in northern Arkansas coming.
Yeah.
And it was 70 degrees.
Yeah. So
probably.
I think, so late January, around that time, models did say that around Valentine's Day there would be a big snow. Did you hear anything from us?
Well, I did say, I will, in all full disclosure, I said the models show something in the second week of February. We'll keep you updated.
It was rain.
It's
rain.
And that's why I didn't go out there and say, it's going to snow the second week of February.
There's
something
a
there.
difference between saying there's something there and
putting out 30
it's going to be 30 inches of snow. I mean, it ended up being something there. I'm sure you were wish casting it being something more on the frozen side.
I mean,
we know Todd, and that's fine.
Todd does like snow.
It's unhealthy.
Yeah.
My obsession with snow is unhealthy.
A little bit.
Yeah.
We all have our biases.
Yeah.
But
we still have to track, I think the separation from us and the posts that you see out there, we still have to talk about it if we're seeing something, even if it's in the long term. Like, I'm watching this, but we'll let you know how it plays out. That's all you have to say. And then as it plays out, you don't even have to say anything if it doesn't pan out.
But you're not putting out, and you're not putting out there any sort of bizarre forecast.
Well, I'm not putting out forecasts claiming for some sort of historic event 2 or 3 weeks down the road. I love looking at long-range forecasts because the science is not there, and it's coming up. It's getting better and better, and I love forecasting.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go get a forecast for the next 5 to 7 days on your app, which we do every day on the Arkansas Storm Team app. But and to me that is, and to everybody, that's easier than a long range forecast out to 2 weeks. And I like the challenge. I like the challenge.
I mean, I'll even say going beyond 7 days for me, that's. To me, I enjoy the more immediate, the radar analysis, severe weather. When the storm is happening, you're more into the long range. I mean, we all have our different strengths, but that's yours, and you.
And that's what makes a team.
That's what makes a team.
That's
and
true.
I think that's the beautiful part about this is, Todd has his, we talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were forecasting the winter storm. Todd has his bias about snow. He loves snow. You have to check yourself.
I do.
When you're forecasting to make sure you're not wish casting.
100%.
And I think that was, and then I have a strong, not love for snow as much as I have an anxiety about ice.
And I'll be honest, I have anxiety about severe weather. Yes. I'll just go. I have anxiety not about it affecting.
We all have anxiety.
And we do. I mean, everybody does. We're all human. We're human. And keeping the anticipatory anxiety away and managing that is tough. My anxiety is not so much from being hit by a tornado. My anxiety comes from making sure all the pieces are in place to warn people, and being on the air and everything going smoothly, and that's my anxiety.
And you know what? To that point, same. I'm the same way. I go through the anxiety the day of the severe weather, not because of the actual risk, but more so make sure everything's in line, make sure we're prepared in case something happens. So when you go on the air, let's say sometimes like I wouldn't say nervous, because you're not nervous about getting in front of the camera. You've been doing it for years, but there's probably a little bit of I'm trying to think. You might be a little anxious on air about how things are set up, making sure everything's in line. You have to learn to keep that at bay so that people don't misread that as if you're worried about tornadoes, because it might be a really low risk, and all of our ducks maybe aren't in a row like we want them to be, and
Well, sometimes we get thrown surprises too, but I mean, I'm sure severe weather anxieties or anything like that. I mean, what is it about the job of covering Arkansas weather and any weather in particular that you're like, ooh, you get a little...
I think it's a similar thing that you described. It's just a matter of, I think I get most anxious making sure that people are listening to us and we are talking about it days in advance, but then, there's a voice in the back of your head like, what if this doesn't pan out? Or, how many people are actually paying attention? Are they reading the most important parts? And then when you are posting that forecast on social media, making sure that it's not written in a way that's fear-mongering or too anxiety-riddled. Yeah. So
and that's what we're going to have to deal with. That's my biggest
anxiety level with it, is just like making sure that all that's perfect. But I'm a perfectionist, so like everything in my brain is going to be like, this has to be this way, this has to be this way.
But Jenna, there are some people out there, unfortunately, that do not care what they put out on social media, and they want people to be scared. They get giddy about severe weather. They're excited about it and happy about it. And it blows my mind that they do that. I can't believe it.
Because they're making money. And they want people to be scared. Some of these people want to fearmonger to get the clicks and get the likes.
Now, they're a little naive, I would say. I mean,
I think you're being too nice to some. Some, yes. There's some that are doing this intentionally.
When I was in college, you're a spry meteorology student trying to figure things out, and you get your first severe weather setup. When I moved to Oklahoma, the first few storm chases I went on, I was excited. That was cool. But there's a point where you have to grow up from that as a weather nerd, and I think a lot of it is this is maybe the nice way of putting it.
I see.
You have a lot of people entering the weather world because storm chasing is now a large hobby, and there's a lot more people that don't have a weather background that are getting into storm chasing, and it is exciting. There's an adrenaline rush to it.
Yeah.
But they're not, maybe that naivete goes away when they encounter their first really big, impactful tornado.
When you meet the people that have been directly affected in unimaginable ways, it will change the way you look at what you do. And when I was younger in the business, and younger even not when I was working, when I was in college, severe weather was exciting. It was an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
And you were like, oh, we're going to have tornadoes today. But, you've got to be able, and for our viewers, you've got to be able to understand.
Reel that back.
To understand where the information is coming from. Okay, is this person, not thinking clear? Right. The other thing, and there are grown-ups doing this, professional meteorologists with a lot more experience that also put out there on social media these analog forecasts, which bother me to no end, saying that this setup is similar to February 5th, 2008. Okay, when you put that out there, somebody who knows and remembers February 5th, 2008 is going to be thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to have another 122-mile long-track tornado. That is not what that says, but you can't communicate that through a social media post, and that type of garbage doesn't need to be on social media, in my opinion.
I think it boils down to when we and anybody puts out weather content like that, you have to ask yourself, is this post going to garner more anxiety from my viewers, or is it going to create more preparedness?
Right.
And
awareness
or preparedness, but you don't want to stir up anxiety. And when you are bringing up past events, when you're pulling up analogs, you're trying to put a label on this upcoming event as if it's,
and no two storm systems are alike.
No two storm systems are alike. Winter storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, whatever, they're all different.
The amount of components that go into it. The atmosphere is a fluid, and everything that meets up at one time, it's never going to be the exact same.
Even if
once you compare it to, I think the common phrase too is, it's May 3rd all over again, referencing Moore.
Yeah,
that's there's another reason that was coined, but still, that's not a helpful comparison, because think of the people in, Moore was hit twice by an EF5. If you start comparing a coming up severe weather event to either of those Moore EF5s, the people of Moore are going to leave town.
Absolutely.
They've lived through too much, and Arkansas has a lot of similar things too.
You have to be responsible on social media, and of course there's no regulation to that unless you're yelling. I'm sure that there are policies with these social media, Facebook, X, and all that. There are policies, but they're not breaking these policies because there's I don't think they are. Unless I'm not aware of some policy, but so they could put that information out there. So it's up to the viewer and it's up to the consumer of that information to understand and decipher what I need to know and what I don't need to know. I need to follow this person. I don't need to follow this person. Right. And so that's why we're making you aware that you're going to see a lot of this coming up. You have seen it in the winter, and I want our viewers to be able to go back and look at the posts that you saw all winter long and look at what actually happened.
Yeah.
And then you take that and apply it to spring. Why am I going to trust this person over here who's called for a gazillion inches of snow every week, and it never happened? Why am I going to trust them in the spring? And and then they're going to claim, well, I got that snow in late January, right? Well, you were right 1 of 18 times.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And what kind of odds are that?
Right.
There was a period of time where I think meteorologists were trying to just not mention what was going on social media, not giving fire to those people that are posting those outlandish things or, whatever forecast it is with big letters, all caps. It sounds terrifying. It's a terrifying cherry-picked model image. But it's to the point where it's so often that I feel like we've got to start calling it out. Hey.
Also decipher too. We have to understand, and I don't want to squash. When you were, you're younger than we are, and me especially. But when I was, I knew I wanted to be a meteorologist since I was 6 years old. And, say that I'm 10 years old and social media was around when I was 10 years old. And now it is for those that are like us that wanted to do weather at an early age. Wouldn't you have been on social media following the weather, putting out posts when you were that age?
Probably.
Yes.
If it was around
I would be that kid.
I would be that kid too. And so, and I think we have to understand that there are passionate, aspiring meteorologists who we should not go after and trash or anything. We need to bring them in and what's the word?
Educate,
and keep their motivation, keep them going. And
that's a very good point, because some of the people who are putting that information out there, there are some people who have ill intent, but they do have the best interest. But or they have good intentions.
They could have intentions.
They have a dream. They want to be.
And we need to embrace that. We need to embrace their dreams and aspirations. But at the same time, we need to say, hey, calm down a little bit.
Right.
But we've got to remember that we don't want to squash a kid's dream.
That's a very good point. We don't want to come off as, We're
not gatekeeping the science. The science is there for everyone. It's just, it's a science. This is not something that you pick up and, we're going to have a conversation about Xbox or something like that. Right. This is a serious thing. And when you post forecasts, people are going to listen to you, especially if you have a following. That means you have a responsibility, no matter your age.
You'd mentioned there's not a lot of regulation on this. You really can't. I mean, it's freedom of speech. People can put anything out there, and
it's freedom of speech from the government.
Yes.
But so you have freedom of speech, but you also have a responsibility, and there are consequences to freedom of speech.
But there's all this, but still, misinformation, putting it out there. While I think it's extremely wrong, and maybe there should be regulation on it, there's not. It frustrates me when people put out that information, oh, you've got a 13-inch snow coming up in 2 weeks, and obviously. But what really makes me angry is when you're on the heels of an event, or maybe you've got a snowstorm that's ongoing, and people are using the anxiety of one storm to get more clicks and likes about something that might be 2 weeks down the road. Like I said,
you think this was bad, just wait until 2 weeks from now.
Yes, and that's kind of like kicking someone down while they're down, sort of. Like I said, for those of you who follow us a lot, you probably are aware, we've talked about it a lot. My family was affected by this ice storm in Mississippi. My niece was without power for 13 days. when you're without power and you've got all these other things going on, you're not paying attention as much to the forecast, but you might be scrolling around on social media and you see somebody tweeting about this upcoming snowstorm, and then in your mind anxiety ensues, and it's just like, so I get a call from my family who's all, are we about to get another snowstorm? They know that it's probably, they know that people put that stuff out there, but when you're in a traumatic situation, logical thinking about, what's right,
you're not
what's good information, what's wrong.
You've been traumatized.
Yeah, they're just like, I can't even really look at a forecast right now. I'm so busy picking up tree limbs and all this stuff and trying to make sure that, family has oxygen because they've been without power. All these are the last thing. Those people should not be taken advantage of, I guess. There were a lot of maps that went more viral than they probably would on a normal day just because we had just come out of an event. And that's what angers me. That's when my anger really...
And we all have this as humans. We all have this need to be liked.
Yeah.
And we all want to be liked by people, on social media. So we want to put posts out there. There's some, not we, but I'm saying there's some out there who want to put posts out there.
Their posts to be
Please
liked.
like me, like my post, follow me, like this, share this, because they like that attention, and that's part of human nature too. So I just thought I'd throw that out there.
That's a good point. I mean, everybody wants to be liked, and those likes, I think in our minds, equates like validation. It's like sometimes it's just the content you put out there. They're not liking you. Right. They're liking the...
What do you say? Don't
be scared. Be prepared.
That's it right there. Don't be scared. Be prepared.
Exactly.
Be prepared, not scared. I think that's what it was. But either way.
So there are going to be those posts coming out on social media here. We're recording this in the middle of February. So just please, we want everybody to be aware of this. Our great digital producer over there, Kate, do you have any questions for us? Because I feel like we're also talking to Kate because she's not a meteorologist.
Yeah.
And so, we understand the weather, but, most people don't understand the inner workings of things. So, Kate.
You're really going to make me do this, aren't you?
I am. I'm bringing you in. Come on into the conversation.
There you are.
It's too twisted.
I feel like, it's funny. I feel like those, I watch a ton of podcasts, and like I watch people who like podcast produced.
Yeah.
And they always get to be on camera, and I never get to be on camera.
Well, you are today.
I am today. No, I think it's really interesting because obviously I'm a consumer of like social media just as much as I put everything out there. And 90% of my feed, if it's not coming from y'all, it's that like hype stuff. Yeah. And I would say, because I feel like I work in the news, I'm educated enough to be like, oh yeah, that's not gonna impact me. But I catch myself, they're getting really good.
I know.
At like making graphics that look like
AI.
Us.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
Go ahead.
No, it's
sorry. I had to sneeze.
They're like,
was that a sneeze?
AI.
I didn't even hear what you...
AI. Go ahead.
No,
Kate,
but really,
I'm sorry.
like, and
they
like,
are getting good.
I
though.
catch the graphics that we use like internally, like as a storm team, like they look really close, like colors, graphics, lettering, all of it. And yeah, but I'm smart, but I'm the same. I have so much weather anxiety. It's crazy.
So you've got the weather anxiety.
It's crazy. During the like tornado season, because I lived in the East Arkansas during the whatever year that was, that it like wiped out ton of the Delta. What year would have that been? 9?
Was it 99?
No.
Your tornadoes in the Delta?
Early 2000s, because I was young.
Okay.
I don't remember which one that was. But since then, like literally anytime my phone goes off, any weather alert, y'all like are preparing.
Or you hear thunder.
I get so worked up. Yeah. And it like, I'm in my bathtub. Like, you know what I mean?
And you find yourself seeing those posts, and that stirs up your anxiety.
That is who we're talking to and trying to ease their anxieties.
Yeah.
And this isn't just in weather. There's misinformation in terms of medical advice.
Oh,
and all.
yeah, absolutely.
Can you imagine being a doctor and, like, knowing, like, your patients are being taken advantage of in a way because people post things that are wrong? It's like, I mean... anytime you're a little sick and you go to WebMD, you
could go with the worst
you
case.
Convince yourself you have the
worst possible thing you could imagine.
And that right there, the worst case scenario, I think anxiety puts you in this mindset that it's always going to be the worst.
You gravitate to that. This is the worst thing, that I can't believe that I've got this and I'm my life is over, or I can't believe that we had this tornado outbreak coming.
It's going to be the worst
thing ever.
Yeah.
I think it was Father Tribu. I'll invoke the principle of the legendary Father Tribu at Catholic High School. I was told he said this. It's when there's ever news that's really good or really bad, he would say, and this again, he never told me this. He told it somebody. It's never as good as you think it is, and it's never as bad as you think it is.
That's good
I
advice.
like that advice.
That's what I was told he said, and I often think about that
when I credit for that.
Yeah. And I always thought, he
probably heard it from somewhere else, but
it's never as good as you think it is. It's never as bad as you think it is.
I love that.
Well, and
I think that's advice I could tell myself every day about so many situations.
Oh, same. Because the amount of I overuse hyperbole all the time. Like, this always happens. That never happened. Whatever it is, but you go from the worst, the best case scenario in any instance of life. We're not
it's
talking
human
about
nature to do that.
Even just weather. Exactly. It could be you're going to get dinner and they're out of whatever you were trying to get or whatever. The worst day ever. Is it actually the worst day ever? No.
No. It's kind of like
when you have
it's like during COVID and there's no toilet paper. Remember that? The anxiety over that. Am I right?
Right. You have to go to the store. Oh, they have one left.
Everybody's running out to get that. I mean, I never understood that, but I think that was anxiety over everything.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
And all that. And that will probably also cause anxiety in people that is still lingering and works into other facets of life and weather and all that.
Yep.
Because we hear constantly bad things, and sometimes they are really bad, but it's never as bad as you think it is. It's never as good as you think it is.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think that
does that make sense? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not turned up anymore. Yeah. No, I think it's valid. I think my sister, she has it worse than I do, and not really sure what has caused it, but we always joke that she's like our local meteorologist outside of the Arkansas Storm team because she's in it. Like she's watching.
She's invested.
She is she's has a major in chemistry. Like she's not a meteorologist.
Sure,
she also is a mom, but she's so over invested in weather because she's so worried all the time. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful sunshine day and it's weeks from now I saw this.
So she's already thinking about it. And I think the biggest takeaway here as we have this conversation, we're here for your peace of mind. We're here to ease your mind when things do get bad. And we were here to inform you so that you make sound decisions rather than going into a panic, which causes you to go into decision paralysis.
Yeah, decision paralysis. I like that.
Yeah, I think that's anytime, let's say, for example, you get caught in a riptide out in the water and you go into, if you start to panic, you don't make decisions that can save your life. When you panic, you tend to actually exhaust yourself to a point you can't save your life. And that's how people end up drowning in those situations. That's an example. So another example is if the tornado sirens are going off and you don't have a plan at that point, you start to panic. People get in their vehicles to try, and that's the last thing you want to do. That's why we say have a plan in place, because when you're ready, you don't have to get ready.
Well, and the best day to put a plan in place is the sunny blue sky day.
That's
right.
Where
nothing's going on. That's why, when we put out blogs and other things that are talking about, let's, switch gears, prepare for a severe weather season. Do you have a plan in place? It's not because we have one coming up. It's because we don't have one coming up. This is the perfect time to sit down with your family. There's nothing that's going to add stress to your life. It doesn't have to be a major thing on your to-do list for the week, but if it's there, you're not planning for an upcoming event. You're just making sure that the next time it happens, that you're ready.
That's why I always say this to everybody, all of our meteorologists here, where it's so important for us to say what a storm is doing and what a storm is not doing. So if there's a tornado warning on a storm and we think that it's not producing a tornado, I'm going to say I don't think it's producing a tornado right now, but it's still a warning. Take your tornado precautions. Be safe than sorry. But right now, I don't think it's producing one. But it could at any moment.
And that's where the peace of mind comes in, too.
A tornado warned storm is not going to produce most tornado warned storms are not going to produce a tornado during that entire length.
Right.
Unless it's a really bad day, but most of them are on the ground for a brief period of time.
Yeah,
and they're very narrow. They're very isolated. But if it hits you, of course, it's a big deal. That's why we go on the air.
When you compare winter storms and severe weather events, they're so hard to compare, obviously. But with severe weather events, they can be extremely bad if you're hit. With winter weather, everybody gets hit, but it's not always extremely bad. It can be. It's just. It always, people ask, what do you prefer, winter weather or severe weather? And I'm like, gosh, I don't know.
I'll take winter weather every time.
I would take winter weather.
I would take it over tornadoes.
I would definitely take it over tornadoes. But at the same time, you can go a tornado risk, but not have a tornado.
And that happens.
And those are,
And that's a good thing.
That is a good thing.
You would think that a lot of people were like, that's wonderful.
Right.
But the amount of times then that we get hate because, I didn't see a tornado hit my house. Did you want a tornado to hit your house?
Right.
What am I supposed to say here? I let you know that the possibility was there. No one said this is for sure going to happen. We're just letting you prepare for it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've gone almost a full 30 minutes on this, so let's wrap all this up. And I wanted to get to this, but I'm going to in a future episode of Too Twisted for TV. There's some new information with the Storm Prediction Center. They're going to be doing some intensity forecasting, starting that for this severe weather season. We're learning more about it right now, and we're gonna be prepared.
We can dive into it more when we know more about it.
But they're going to try to, and they've been doing this for a while now. They're going public. It's been on an experimental basis, but apparently they're going to be putting out outlooks that are going to try to forecast the intensity of possible tornadoes. And so that's going to be out there on social media, and that's going to cause some anxiety too.
I'd like to see how their experimental work is.
I
would have
want
loved
to
to
see the
be
case
part
studies.
of that case, or I guess there was this all came out a little after our winter storm.
It was right at the tail end
I'm
of it.
actually just now seeing some of this for the first time.
And the Hot Springs tornado a couple of Mays ago, where it was a marginal outlook, but I remember saying, boy, if something goes up, we're in trouble. If there's a storm.
Yeah.
And sure enough, one storm went up and hit Hot Springs with an EF2 tornado. And it was at about 12:30 in the evening. Mm-hmm. And it was a marginal situation. So you have this very low risk, but if something did go up, it was going to be a bad tornado.
Another example of a situation that might not go well with the way this is in 2020 when Tennessee had those tornadoes. It was a very low marginal risk. They ended up with an EF4 tornado in Cookeville.
Yeah.
You can have a very low risk, but then have an extremely bad tornado.
Exactly.
So.
The Dayton tornado is the same, the F4.
Just be prepared, because Joel and I did this not too long ago. Be prepared for those social media posts that do this.
And I made an example of what is the hype that we're talking about. Throw it up on the screen. Wow! Oh my gosh! Look at all that. Fayetteville's gonna get clobbered. What is that? What does it say? 10 inches of snow there?
Just a previous episode.
That's a previous episode of Too Twisted for TV. Just be aware with those.
You can find that on krk.com.
Just be prepared.
And Fox16.com, right?
Fox16.com.
Yeah.
Just when you see those posts that go, wow, and those things.
Check in.
Yeah.
Check our app. Download the Arkansas
check
Storm Team
If
app.
if it's so bizarre that you feel like you have to share it to, if it's so bizarre that you feel like you have to share it, it might be
A bad idea.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're out of time. Thank you so much for watching Too Twisted
definitely.
for TV. We'll see you the next time.
See ya.